Hello and welcome back to my channel, and we rejoin our characters in the Worm's Tail Bar, the classy, discreet, elegant, well-appointed entertainment facility nestled inside the Dragon Hotel. A scene for all the planetary well-to-do and those that are in the fast lane who like to be seen in public. This is quite often the place to come, if they want to get away from the wild nightlife, uh, which is reasonably rare on Taro, due to the rather I suppose quite a conservative kind of outlook on life. You really have to get in with the faction, the free faction who like to party. However, sticking to what the characters are up to, we've already had a couple of what I call situations, which involves our characters having initial interactions with some of the patrons of the establishment, and where we have generated some quite interesting individuals. We've got a little summary here with my little NPC matrix. So we've got basically headed up Dragon Hotel situations. We've already had the concierge Clement, who was a very charming, well-spoken individual. We've got quite a bit of a rapport with Hansen, our bartender, who is he's positive, he's very helpful, he's willing to offer information within limits. He's already said that there is a confidentiality clause that the Dragon Hotel operates. We've had our first situation, what appeared to be quite a productive interaction with Wagner Castellon, a young politician on the rise. He came over as being a very charismatic and quite an interesting and entertaining individual to be around and to interact with. And he left us with the tantalizing prospect that we might have some form of patronage further down the line. And then, just following on from that, we initially saw what appeared to be rather suspicious activities from a reporter, a journalist called Chris Avant. She has got a bit of a thing about Wagner Castellon. She's doing a deep impact, or what is it? What is the term? Is it something about a story or something? I'd have to look it up. But she's doing effectively a special report on Wagner Castellon and his activities. It's been brought to her editor's attention that he's maybe just hanging around the Dragon Hotel quite a lot, interacting with all these strange off-worlders. What's he up to? So she's a bit of a bloodhound, and we found out she's quite an aggressive personality. In fact, she's right up on the top. A very strange quirk. We found out that she had telepathy. I'm not going to do a 1 to 6 on that, because there is a separate scale in the psionics. And when I plan to maybe show you the psionics maybe in a couple of episodes. Just maybe go in a bit more detail, and then we can maybe just judge what level of telepathy Chris has got. I think we'd already said that it's probably not up to kind of Yoda level. She's not really, maybe the Force is just slightly with her just now. She has not trained. And there's probably I think there probably is a very kind of a rather hostile view to psionics on this planet. Okay, so both situations ended well. I think the characters felt that they had quite positive interactions with these two individuals. They turned out to be quite lengthy encounters. I've taken up 2 episodes with this already. I was originally planning just to maybe have two tops. We did another roll according to our little little matrix on the setup in the Dragon Hotel. We got to stage 7, which said, after 2 situations, roll a d6 and perform another on a 3 to 6, reducing by 1 thereafter. And we rolled, I think from memory, was it a 4 or a 5, which effectively meant we had another situation. So I just get my little checklist. I had my little show notes last time where I had a 1 to 8 of what we do with our characters. And just get back to the information that we need to do and get my sheet out. Okay, so let's get cracking on these characters. Now, I suppose just as a general point, with solo wargaming, I keep saying solo wargaming. I have been wargaming recently. Solo role playing. You can indulge yourself in quite a bit of latitude and time. And I suppose the interesting thing for me with all my role playing so far on camera is that it's in real time, and any kind of pauses or kind of breaks in continuity, and where I'm having to think and go it must, I maybe can't indulge myself as much as I would do if I was just sort of sitting here on my own doing this type of stuff, and I'd be sitting maybe pouring through books. So you're always conscious that you've got a few, maybe a few people watching your video. You've got to keep it not snappy or whatever. It's not trying to go for it. Something like a kind of film or anything. But it's something that it's got a bit of movement in it. I can't just sit there for have 30 seconds of silence, which I think I had in my first video. I kind of learned my lesson. However, I've done a lot now, but I still feel a bit, sometimes I feel a wee bit nervous coming on and talking about things, and it just takes me a wee while to get to get relaxed. And I find one of the ways to do that is just to, if you do feel that you've made a little mistake and stuff, just carry on. The famous British thing that they have on our mugs, keep calm and carry on, and it seems to work every time. Just stay kind of go with it. Right, I've completely diverged. I don't know quite what I've on about. We're gonna have to do another individual, so that means we're gonna have to roll up a situation, and the first thing we do, according to my little list, is we'll work out their identity, and I have a little table to do that called resident identity. And what we do is we roll 2 dice 6. No, we actually roll 3 dice 6. Oh no, it's 2 dice 6, yes, because 1 is 1 to 3, so the red is 1 to 3 and the black is 1 to 6. So let's see what we get for the resident's identity. We get that's 32. So 32. Oh, right, okay. Naval officer. Right. So the first run in with a military individual, a naval officer. Now, they are probably almost automatically going to be off-worlders, but we still have to check, I would say. So let's work out whether this naval officer is male or female, and we just do our classic 50%, so 1 to 3, this is a male, so this is a female, sex is female, and the next thing I have on my checklist is I have this nice little age and experience table, which was kindly furnished by the Mongoose Traveller traveller book, which I took out. So for the age, now all our characters, the situations that we've generated so far, they've all been in their 20s. So they've been very impressive. So there is hope for the youth of this planet. They were very very entertaining company, very bright. So let's see what the age of this naval officer is straight off the bat. So we have early 30s, okay, a little bit. So 30s and early. That's important definition, because we do have two different categories. We have the early 30s and the late 30s. So what we're saying from that table is the majority of the people we're expecting to meet are probably going to be in the 30s. That's kind of like your prime. Just maybe 30s getting into your 40s, that type of thing. You're probably 30s. You become quite a rounded human being. Really, you really are quite an adult, but you still got your physical strengths and qualities and abilities. But you're quite mature with it. And then our next one that we're going to do is experience. So we'll roll a d6. Now, characters that are in age group 3+, roll 2 dice for experience and take the highest. So we don't have to do that. We just have a straight die roll. So let's find out how experienced this naval officer is. Oh my goodness. Elite. Elite expert specialist, skill 3. Oh, right. Is this a Navy SEAL or something? We hit the jackpot with a fantastically overqualified 30-year-old. Okay, so experience, we've got elite, and skill potentially 3. So they could be, from an elite force, or they could be an expert in their field, or maybe they are a specialist. So maybe they looked after a particular, something on the naval side. So they could even be, on the naval side. This individual could be a specialist in liaison. So they could be like an ambassador, like an attaché type person. It'd be interesting to maybe just have a bit of think about that. So I've currently got elite just now, because I'm thinking more kind of special forces type thing. But might be someone that is quite maybe a skilled linguist, or as I say, kind of into the liaison side of the Navy, into protocol and that sort of thing. So what else have we got? After experience, we have background. Now on the background, we have to work out whether they are from the planet or off-world. Now, I think I had a little piece from last time. Yeah. If it's not obvious from the resident's background, there will be off-worlders 1 to 5 and natives 6. So I think that's a fair thing to do. I think we just go 1 to 5. They are it's probably an imperial naval officer. I don't think there's going to be like a local planetary navy here. So 1 to 5. This is an imperial naval officer. 6, they are a native, so we'd have to have a bit of a think. So let's see what we get. 3, so yep. So they are an off-worlder, and we'll assume imperial. So we come across our first official imperial character, a lady from, well, we don't really know, but we know that she's in the Navy. She is in her early 30s, and boy, does she pack a punch when it comes to qualifications. Okay, so what else are we going to do? Let's find out what this lady's called. So we get our little name list. There we go, character names. Female names, and then universal surnames. So let's get our D6s out, primed and ready. Black is rows and red is columns. We get column 3 and row 5. So we have an individual called Rhea, or Rhea, or Rhea. Rhea. Okay. And the surname, we'll do the same. We'll do the surname, the rows first. So I'll calculate it with the red as so red is 1, and that's 2. So that it's row 2, and let's do the column. Column 2. Askvig. Sounds a bit Nordic. So that is Rhea Askvig. Okay. We don't really know the rank yet. We could maybe make some assumptions about that. Probably going to be, if they are an expert, they're probably going to be commissioned. Maybe captain level or something. When it looks at the naval side, let's have a look at just what our characters would be on the rank side. So in the Navy, the ranks for Navy, we've got ensign, lieutenant, lieutenant commander, commander, captain, admiral. Okay, well, what's the maximum that she could get? So she is, she would have started at 18. Started at 18. And then she's probably what would be, let me see, that would be, what is Fiora? She's done 4 terms. So that is, yeah, she's 34. Yeah, let's say maybe this individual's 34. So if we say that this person has had a promotion every time, they are probably, the maximum they can be is a commander. So I think I'm going to assume, based on the fact that this individual is elite, I'm going to say she is a commander. We don't really know that just now. You know, she's probably in her civilian clothes. That's my book just fell off. I'll put commander. I don't think she'd be walking around with her naval uniform on in the Worm's Tail bar. She's probably got some casual clothing on. Okay, I think the next thing we need to do, you know, we don't maybe not got enough really to kind of work on just now. Let's do one of our favourite things, which is work out the personality. I'll just get that sheet out on personality. And we have our old favourite, where we do our table of 64 options. Let's find out what it's going to be. So we'll have red as the first dice and black as the second. So we have a 31 on personality. Suspicious. Always distrust others, even their allies. Okay, great. So why is this individual suspicious? Distrust others, including their friends. Okay, maybe she's had a bit of an incident when she was younger, and she's now carrying around some suspicions. She just doesn't really trust other people. Maybe this could, she's maybe a bit of a loner. She's a specialist in something. I don't think that's a very good trait for a diplomatic type of person into liaison. I think she's probably more going towards a kind of maybe a kind of black ops type role. Yeah, suspicious might be a good trait for someone that is uh, is untrusting. So maybe they're always on the lookout for the downside in individuals, and the Navy realize this and think that this is something that maybe can drive her personality towards something that is going to be useful for the Navy. I'm kind of maybe clutching at straws a bit on this one. Okay, and the quirk table, we have to do the quirk. This has already generated some quite interesting stuff on our other two characters. And, we've had the fact that Wagner Castellan will betray the characters at some stage, and also we've got a telepath. So it really has been paying a few dividends, this one. Let's find out what happens with Ria. We have a 28. 28 is 28 is 26. I am really 26. I'm forgetful. Yes, forgetting what your numbers are. Wants to hire the Travellers. Well, have we struck gold here? Wants to hire the Travellers. Okay. Well, you saw it here first. So, wants to hire Travellers. Okay. Right. Well, that's really interesting. We've got quite an intriguing character here in the form of Ria Asvig, a commander in the Imperial Navy. She is in her early 30s. She is an elite officer. We don't quite know what her training is. We're just being kind of hinting that she's into kind of maybe black ops type work. She might be, just someone that's like a Navy SEAL. She does the kind of probably the more what equivalent of what are in my country would be the SAS. They do go behind enemy lines, and they do all that kind of sort of specialist type commando operation. Maybe she is a kind of equivalent of the Navy's commander. Okay, I think we need to move on with the process, and the next thing we do is, according to our little sheet, is on. So we determine the trigger that initiates the encounter, and I have my little trigger table here, which is, this is my 1d12, so I have to get my d12 out to do this. This is the trouble with, Traveller is basically a 2d6 system, and I keep on bringing in all these other dice, but I suppose as a solo roleplay, all I'm doing is just putting some mechanics on top. And if I just happen to have a d12 table, I can't really help it. Sometimes it's difficult to keep it all to d6. That's my excuse. Okay, let's find out what triggers this situation in the first place. 5. What does 5 mean? 5 means guests having trouble being understood due to accent and characters can help. Right, well that is interesting, isn't it? So are we thinking Are you thinking what I'm thinking, that maybe this is just a bit of a ploy? This person's maybe thinking of some way to approach the characters. So, on the basis that all that stuff I was talking to you about a few episodes back about the Imperium and how they want a kind of a very uniform form of, effectively it would be like, say everybody spoke kind of the like an English person, a like a middle class to upper class English person. That is kind of the ethic that the Imperium has as a mass education program across the Imperium. They want everyone to try and speak the same because they think that language is it's a bit like the 1984 thing. You can use the language to control. And they think by having not the ability of individual planets and individuals to maybe express themselves in their own regional dialects and their regional, have their own kind of lingua franca type offshoots. The Imperium really want complete control. So the fact that maybe she is going to pretend that she can't be understood in this situation because she doesn't feel she has the right vocabulary to maybe she's trying to order some drinks with Hansen. And Hansen is maybe kind of just going, I don't quite understand what you're after. Ah, right, yeah, maybe that could be the way in. So let's set this up. And this is one thing I was actually going to talk about was with my Traveller campaign, and I've been thinking about just the way that the Traveller game could evolve. I think when it's say you compare it to Dungeons and Dragons. Now with Dungeons and Dragons, you can have quite a prescriptive way of operating. People are the characters have some reasonably clear motivations and goals. There is a kind of a limited menu of options on the table for the characters to do. It's in some ways it's a far more simple setting to deal with. The motivations are kind of are shaped by that setting. So dungeon delving, going out on wilderness expeditions, exploring hexes, fighting the dragons and the evil monsters, getting the loot, going up levels. Whereas with Traveller, you could really be doing just about anything you want. So you can't really have a rule that covers everything. So what I'm trying to say really is for Traveller, I think I'm going to have a lot more kind of referee discretion with the actual campaign. And the way I'm going to modulate that is to basically kind of weigh up the options, maybe use a kind of very simple D6 oracle for a yes/no type thing at times, and also try to be quite descriptive and make inferences from the information. So basically, say we take any of these individuals. What I've done is I've basically tried to distill the information that we get down on the sheet, and then make some connections and assumptions, and the narrative moves on from there. I think that's going to be far more profound in this campaign in comparison to any of the other ones I'm going to be doing. And that's one of the exciting things about Traveller. It's almost a bit daunting to do it on screen, because you've got to be kind of, you've got to think on your feet. So like the fact that I had to kind of come up with Wagner, I had to come up with Chris and the situations basically on the spot. It was quite thrilling to do, but again, it does feel quite tense and quite exhausting trying to do it. But I think that's the way that this campaign is going to play out. I think we're taking a Rhea Askvig. I've jotted down a few bits of information, but already I've got maybe something in my head that I'm thinking, right, this is what the characters are going to be confronted with. And interestingly, it's almost as if the characters in my Traveller campaign might be acting as if it's almost as if we're in reverse for a solo campaign, where you think, well, I'm the character party, I'm playing in this campaign as the character party. The whole of this world around me is being randomly created, um, uh, basically for the benefit of me and my party and my entertainment. But I mean, maybe you can think of it in this case as being slightly on the other side, where I could be like the solo games master, and I've got these random characters doing all sorts of strange things in my setting, and I've got to kind of react to them, but in a very fair manner, because I want to work within my physical constraints of my universe. I've got some strict rules of how physics work and how the logic of the situation, and I can't just like send out loads of stormtroopers and destroy them. What's the point? So it's almost as if I am playing out the role of a solo games master or referee, and the characters, in contrast, they are acting in almost in kind of random ways to my setting. But I am not going to go down as far as that. It's probably going to be more in between. And I think a long time ago on my AD&D channel, I did try to explain that I had three avatars. I had the DM side, I had the player side, and I had what was known as the balance, the one in the middle. And we used to have little team meetings, these avatars, and discuss, if we did that session go well or not. I think in this case, it's going to be very much more a kind of a balance between the DM side or the GM side and the player side. And I am going to have to, as the modulator, the narrator of this, make my own inferences far more in this campaign than any of the others. So in a very, very long-winded way, I have tried to explain that I'm going to maybe have to make up more in this one, with based on hopefully on these things, not that one, on these things as much as possible, to drive the narrative forward and extract logic out of these things, because the environment itself is far more sophisticated and multi-layered, and basically anything goes in the Traveller universe. I'm not just dealing with one planet that it's got dungeons in it and there's dragons and magic. I'm dealing with maybe 20-30 planets. I've got a star empire. I've got lots of different races of humans, lots of different cultures. It's all kicking off in my universe. Okay. I have lost my thread because we were in the situation. I think I had an idea. We were going to set up the situation. Yes, let's carry on with that. Let's set up the situation. Get our little characters in. So let's imagine where we are in the evening. It's actually probably pretty well through the evening. We've already had 2 situations. They've probably taken a few hours. The characters are a bit sloshed. I think Kira is feeling a bit worse for wear. She is even thinking of maybe just calling it a night and not getting on to the Spectre surprise, because I think that's going to be good night Vienna. But the rest of the characters, they're still pretty game. They haven't really imbibed too much in comparison. And I would say that maybe they've still got a couple of hours left in them for this evening. They've gone back to the bar. They're kind of propping up the bar a bit. If we just get a bit something that is bar-like on my... Get let's get Hansen. What we're going to have? What color is Hansen again? Okay, we had him as green. So he's behind the bar. We're propping up again, and then there's this other person sort of saying, you know, I need. Have you not got and such a kind of drink? And Hansen's going, yeah, but we've got. I've told you, we've only got these types of beers. We've got Old Glory, we've got Tradition, we've got retro beer, which is, yeah, that's the new thing that's coming in. She says, oh, well, I don't really want retro beer. Have you not got, and she comes out with this very strange kind of beer. And he says, no, we haven't. Can you not? And the characters, you know, their ears prick up, and they say, do you need some assistance? And maybe we've come across a few different beverages in our time. You know, maybe we can help you if you explain what it is. And she and this lady, this person says, oh, well, that's very kind of you. I'm after it's this type of thing that comes from this, and she names a planet, and Fiora says, oh yeah, I've come across that particular beverage. I doubt that they have probably stock it. Probably the nearest you're going to get on this planet is Tradition. You know, that I've heard that is very similar. So Fiora says, I'm quite happy to buy you a drink. You know, fancy having a Tradition just to try it out? And Ria says, yes, yeah, that's very kind of you. Maybe we could have a bit of a chat. You know, I'm on my own in this. You know, I'm a naval officer. I'm from the Imperium. I'm just in this neighborhood for a few days, and I heard that this place had a very fine reputation. I thought it might have stocked some additional beverages, but obviously no. This and she actually tastes the beer. She says, well, this is a very fine beer. It tastes very similar to my blah 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 type of beer. You know, she comes out with this very strange kind of name for it. You know, this really hits the spot. So we actually strike a bit of a rapport with Ria. So let's see where this leads us. And we also know that Ria has a bit of an agenda. She wants to hire the travellers, and we don't know this. So if we just head back over to our little table, we'll get rid of Hansen for just now. We are all having a bit of a drink again. You know, I would say Kira is probably, maybe she's having a bit of a snooze in the she's taking in the back seat on this one. She's not too bothered about maybe getting involved in this particular discussion. And I think what we need to do is probably try to see whether we can almost discern what Ria's what her game plan is in this situation. So we as solo role players know that Ria has the view of hiring these individuals or recruiting them to some sort of cause. So I think probably to do it justice, I'm going to have to maybe do a kind of bit of a rule of 4 type thing for my traveller, come up with a plausible mission background to this, and use that as the basis for launching in the next session. I think that's probably the best idea. I did really want to try and play this one through, but I think this sounds a bit just maybe something that is probably beyond kind of just doing it on the fly, and I think it might be better to actually have a few options. This is interesting from the point of view that we haven't really had someone that is actively looking for these characters. and actively looking to recruit. It's almost as if we just had a patron generated out of nowhere. I would say that maybe in this instance, Ria is really just feeling out the characters. So yeah, let's go on the basis that let's see what her overall reaction is, and what we're going to do is it's really just kind of conversation. What she is doing, and she's making mental notes of what these individuals are like, what their capabilities are, what their background is. She's probably taking some names and past service information. She can do a bit of deep research on the naval data banks about these. She's already got some information about Kira, the fact that she's effectively a naval recruit, just a crewman really, and it's probably a good thing that Kira has maybe just been quiet in the corner. Maybe she's got a wee bit of rank kind of chip on her shoulder type attitude. So as I say, I think Rio is probably just going to try and kind of feel out our characters and try to ascertain just exactly what their strengths and weaknesses are, what they're like in conversation. Who knows? Maybe she's already had a bit of a brief that there are 4 individuals in the Dragon Hotel who have recently left service of various services, and they have formed a little group. So she is already armed with this knowledge, and all she really wants to do is validate some of the file records that she already has, just to get a measure of them. She's obviously going to be quite impressed with Fiora, I would say, straight off the bat. And I think the other 3, in their own way, are probably going to be, she's going to think, well, they're quite a tight little unit that I'm coming across just now. So I think that's what I want to do. I think I'd rather kick this off next time with a kind of thought out kind of rationale for Ria. But in the meantime, let's just do a quick heads up on where we're going on the campaign. Now, I think at the end of last episode, I did explain that we're moving into patron territory, and that is the plan for the characters probably the next day. So I think what I'm going to do is kick off from the session. The next session is to basically mop up this situation, which I think I'm just going to contain as a kind of exploration by Ria of these characters. They don't know that she's got a view to potentially take them on board as recruits, and also have the characters commence their patron searching. And I think I showed you a highlight of what that was last time. I've now had the opportunity to do quite a bit more deep dive on my patron searching rules, and I have this overall matrix which will govern. So I think I explained last time we have 2 activities. We've got seeking patron and adventuring. On the patron side, we do a patron check every day, and there's a 6 on a d6 that we get a patron as an encounter, and also there's a rumor check while we're out and about. And that's a 6 and a d6, and again I've got a rumor mechanic process that I've got fleshed out, and at the same time we have a check for random encounters dependent on where we are. Now the dependence on where we are is determined by a d6 roll where I select the patron searching table, and that's a 1 to 6 table. And that defines where in the starport or the urban area we are conducting our patron search. And that will feed into this overall, what I call patron encounters checklist. So first of all, we'll consult the patron searching table to find out where. We'll perform the patron check roll to find out just whether we actually come across a patron. That's the 5 that's the 6 on the D6. We'll determine the patron using, there's 2 lists on our page 100 in our book. There used to only be, I think I mentioned this, there used to only be 1 list in the old black books, but they have kindly, I think this was based on having citizens of the Imperium, they have kindly given us 2. So we are going to do a bit of a check on this one or this one, depending on what we roll. And also there are other, there's other modifiers that will come into effect based on which table we use. And also then thereafter we'll determine the patron's personality and a quirk on a 5 to 6. So in this instance we've had quirks for all our characters. I'm not saying we're going to have a quirk for everybody. We'll determine the location by rolling a d20 and using the suggestions in. I've got something called the patron location table, which is here, and I've got all the kind of places in either the urban area or the starport. Things like an open air market or a bazaar, customs and immigration processing, that type of thing, and then I do something which I call visualize and describe the location. And I've got, I'm quite keen to show you this in a bit of detail. So I'm gonna take a chunk of the next episode. I think I was explaining last time that I have this view that I want to try to visualize the situation. This is quite an abstract process. It's almost to kind of zoom in. On a location. So if we do get an encounter, so this is specifically for the patron, but also on the encounter side, if we get an encounter, I have a mechanism to zoom in, find out where this is, and actually describe the immediate environment we're in with this technique that I'm going to show you. I think that might be quite good fun to go through for a few instances, and when we become quite slick in it, after a few encounters, maybe just tone it down a bit, or I'll know how to play it. But maybe in the first couple of encounters, I'll go full on and go through all the different steps. And I think one of the nice things about this overall process is, not to feel that we need to rush, because I think a lot of the nuance and the interesting facts and details actually come out a bit as you go through, generate some of the statistics and start to put things together and get connections. And my process for the encounter visualization, all that does is emphasize that through a structured kind of manner. And then we can determine the mission and the mission details. Now I am actually going to use the Mongoose Traveller tables on page 93 to 94 of this. I found these absolutely excellent. I think these will do the business. I think there's no reason why not to use Mongoose Traveller as and when I need to. It's very faithful to the classic, so it's almost like I'm feeling I've just really got a bit of a supplement. So we're not going to use the random patrons, but we'll have a random mission, and this will be the 66 that we've got. And then we have things like if there's a target specified, we have random targets. If there's any opposition specified, we have random opposition. So I'm going to use that in the patron thing, and I think that will generate some interesting missions. And then we'll actually perform the interaction using a secondary reaction table of whether the characters are successful in being recruited. If the patron likes them, we can have a bit of nuance there about whether maybe the patron needs a bit more convincing. Maybe we need to talk a bit more in detail. And then finally calculate the mission value. I'll have a little table that says, well, based on the complexity and potential danger of this mission, this is the monetary reward. It's dependent on things like time, perceived time, how far the characters need to go, what it involves, whether it involves any specific equipment, or it involves any additional expense. Okay, I think I maybe just dazzled you enough with that science. I think just with as a recap, I think that's probably the best idea for the situation is just to kind of take a bit of a rain check on this one, on the basis that Ria Asfig, commander in the Navy, is acting of her own volition in the Dragon Hotel as effectively an agent of the Imperium who is looking to recruit some individuals. These have already been identified, so there's some Imperial interest in these characters already. You know, whether that is that is a sinister thing, a good thing, or maybe you know, let us find out. But it seems to be on the positive just now, and also we've got, maybe this is a slow burn. We might have this in our back pocket, because I do say after 3 days of looking for a patron, if we have not found one, I will generate one automatically. We might actually activate the Ria Asfig want to hire traveler mission as our fallback. We might already have that on the table as well as a parallel. And then I'll have my overall matrix of things with my threads and all that type of thing, my action points and whatever. I'll be able to show you that in the next couple of sessions too. Okay, right. Well, that was an interesting little situation. I am thinking that what I might do is at the start of the next one, I might roll to see if we do have another situation. If we do have another situation, I think what I will do is I'll try to make that a bit more compressed, and maybe just not go into as much detail on that one. The chances are reducing, so I think I'm quite happy having had 3. I wasn't really expecting to have any more. And you probably a sigh of relief. We've got enough NPCs flying around. There's been enough intrigue. We've got a few layers going on. We've got what's happening between Wagner and Chris. We've got what's happening in Wagner's brain anyhow. And we've got Ria with her potential job offer on the stocks. Okay, enjoyed that. Hopefully you did too. Looking forward to the next one, where we really get our roll our sleeves up and get into the active job of patron searching, and also get out and about into the starport, maybe into the urban area. You know, God forbid we go into the criminal underworld area. You know, anything could happen with that D6 roll. That should be quite exciting. Okay, well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.